Eto Community Comic Book Club for November 2024, covering DC's Spirit World by Alyssa Wong. What does non-binary mean? This book was chosen as part of the nominated theme for this month being a non-binary November, not an actual event, but the alliteration is perfect, so it should be. In honour of the theme, I'm just going to do the briefest educational summary for those who may not be aware. Non-binary is an umbrella term encompassing a diverse range of gender identities which do not conform to the binary concept of male and female. Non-binary identities have existed throughout history across many cultures. They have gained more visibility, recognition, and understanding through education, internet access, and modern discussions about gender. Gender identities are nuanced and personal. There is no one way to look or be non-binary. There is no definitive set of preferred pronouns for non-binary people either. While many non-binary people prefer they/them pronouns, this does not represent every non-binary person's preference. Avoid assuming every person's gender. Feel free to ask people when you meet them what pronouns they use. Feel free to put your own pronouns in your email signature or to introduce people using your pronouns. This can take the focus off non-binary people having to do all the work. Embrace doing your own research on pronouns without expecting non-binary people to educate you. Encourage open dialogue, which means being open about your own shortcomings or fears when relevant, but ensure this is means to steer conversation forward. When you make a mistake, a brief apology, a verbalized correction, and moving on quickly is often the best recourse. People aren't out to get you. Don't get too hung up. Generally, people know getting it wrong is part of the process and are forgiving if they feel you are trying your best. If somebody does correct you, it's not an accusation of wrongdoing, it's just an educational learning opportunity for you. Recognize mistakes happen, and apologies are okay, but don't mistake them for real work. Saying sorry a handful of times might be fine, but if you're misgendering someone continuously, you might want to think about why and make a conscious effort to do better. Exposure is key. Keep using they/them to help normalize those pronouns being in your default vocabulary. End of the day, it's a small accommodation you're making, which could have a big impact on people around you feeling included and accepted. Trigger warnings. References in tonight's comic club, both in the issues and in the wider character context, include parental neglect and abuse, alcoholism, mismanagement of mental health, misgendering and dead naming, and sexual exploitation of minors. Alyssa Wong writes award-winning fiction, comics, novels, and games. Wong identifies as queer and non-binary and uses they/them pronouns. Their stories have won and been nominated for a multitude of awards. Alyssa's comic credits include the 2020 run of Star Wars Dr. Aphra, Marvel's Shang-Chi, Iron Fist, Alligator Loki, Deadpool, and Extreme Carnage, DC's Batwoman and Wonder Woman, and Boom's Adventure Time. In 2023, Alyssa joined the Star Wars The High Republic Storytelling Initiative and their debut novel released in January 2024. Alyssa has also written for Overwatch and Blizzard Entertainment story and franchise development. At San Diego Comic-Con 2024, it was revealed that Alyssa would be the writer of the ongoing Marvel X title, Psylocke, which released this month, and is the 2024 writer of the Captain Marvel comic. Alyssa Wong has stated in an AIPT interview that Cassandra Cain has a special place in their heart and was the character who got them interested in DC Comics. When they were a kid, they didn't read comics not having access to them, so they were on Wikipedia reading about comics and stumbled upon Cass, which made them think, like, oh my god, an Asian girl, yes. Alyssa has loved writing someone who doesn't talk very much. Alyssa self-admits they write a lot of characters who are verbose, often to deflect from their feelings and vulnerabilities. Alyssa sees Cass as the opposite, someone who is honest, directed, intentional. When Cass speaks, you listen. Words are difficult, so each one is precious. Alyssa found having Cass play off Xanthe and Constantine in Spirit World to be a lot of fun. Alyssa loves Kate Kane, aka Batwoman, too. They find Kate's outfit visually striking, but the big thing about Kate is, as a queer writer, for Alyssa getting to write a character who is a very prominent member of the Bat family in DC Pride 2023, and also is explicitly queer, would be a cool opportunity. They're also very excited about the character of Tim Drake. In 2022, on National Coming Out Day, Alyssa was quoted on Twitter saying, "Coming out is a process, so be patient with yourself. I grew up thinking I had to stay in the closet, but my life has opened up since coming out as queer and non-binary. Now I write queer stories and comics, and I've never felt more like me." Very aspirational. This is the second time we've covered Alyssa Wong's work, their writing having previously appeared in the DC Pride 2022 anthology special with a story called A World Kept Just for Me, about a date between the Jackson Hyde Aquaman and the Atlantean Hawiya, sharing their respective worlds above and below the sea line. The story was one of the group favourites because of both the writing and the artwork, and I strongly suggest checking out the DC Pride, the New Generation Comic Club YouTube upload if you haven't already. Haining uses she/her pronouns and is a Taiwanese professional comic artist. She began her professional comic artist career in 2016 at Tan Comics in Shanghai, where she is now the art director. She works on comic books, webcomics, illustrations, character design, logo design, inking, colouring, and more. Projects come from Tan Comics, DC, Capstone, Marvel, Riot Games, Lilith Games, Quento Comics, among others. Haining's main work for Marvel was cover art for the 2019 League of Legends Lux miniseries and a Swordmaster cover. Haining's DC inking and colouring has included work on G. Willow Wilson's Poison Ivy run for issues 22 through 27. The early issues predating Haining's work will cover for Comic Club next year. Haining's also inked for some DC vs. Vampires, All Out War, and Monkey Prince issues, and done colouring for select issues of the 2016 New Superman run. Haining also has done a variety of cover artwork for various Joker and Batman Incorporated series. She lives in Taiwan with her cats. When Wong was asked about having Haining doing Spirit World art and what it was like to get those characters and designs back and see Xanthe come to life, Wong responded, "I adore Haining. Absolutely adore Haining's work. She's also the perfect artist for this project. Just incredible. She's nailed every single design. I can't wait for you to meet all the characters Haining has drawn up. And I mean, have you seen the splash page at the end of our Lazarus Planet Dark Fate issue 1 story, where we get our first look at the Spirit World? It's stunning." Sebastian Cheng uses he/him pronouns and is a Malaysian-Chinese comic colorist who has worked for DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, IDW, Valiant, Dynamite, Titans Comics, Zenescope, Blizzard, Activision, Random House, and Upper Deck. Prior to Spirit World, Sebastian worked on the DC's 2022 Monkey Prince series. Other work for DC has also included Batman Beyond, Neo Gothic, and Batman Beyond Neo Year, City Boy, Superboy, The Man of Tomorrow, and Lazarus Planet tie-in issues. Sebastian Chang's work for Marvel includes the September 2021 Comic Cast book, the 2020 Shang-Chi miniseries. That Comic Cast didn't cover the colorist focusing on the main artists, but just cool to see a recurring colorist across books we've covered. And he's also worked in 2022's Wolverine Patch, 2024's Wolverine Deep Cut, 2024's Symbiote Spider-Man 2099, and the covers for 2024's Wolverine Madripoor Nights. For Dark Horse, Sebastian has colored the EVE Online Capsulia Chronicles comics. Cassandra Cain is the third main holder of the Batgirl mantle. For more information on the other holders of the Batgirl mantle, or for a more in-depth bio on Cassandra Cain, I suggest checking out the YouTube upload of the Batgirls Comic Club from September 2024. First appearing in 1999, Cassandra Cain was raised under the abusive control of her father, the world-class assassin David Cain. Cassandra was taught violence before she was taught anything else, even how to speak. Cassandra was not taught the ability to speak and was unable to read. Her ability to fight was her first language. Her father considered language and literacy a waste of memory and brain space for someone trained to be the perfect weapon and the ultimate killing machine. Cassandra could read others' body language and predict their next moves based on stance and minute muscle movements. Cassandra eventually escaped her father in Gotham City, not agreeing with his morals, instead joining the Bat family, learning the unique skills of what it means to be a hero, and is adopted by Bruce Wayne. John Constantine is a bisexual Liverpool-born detective of the occult and anti-hero created by Alan Moore, Steve Bissett, and John Totalben. First appearing in 1985 in Swamp Thing issue 37. A heads up that in February 2025 they'll be releasing a facsimile version of that issue. The issue is the start of an iconic Swamp Thing storyline called American Gothic, which Constantine appears as Swamp Thing's supernatural advisor. For more info about Swamp Thing, see last month's Titans Comic Club for a brief bio. For those who are unaware, the occult is a category of esoteric or supernatural beliefs and practices which generally fall outside the scope of organized religion and science, encompassing phenomena including a hidden or secret agency such as magic and mysticism. It can also refer to paranormal ideas. In those early appearances, Constantine was depicted as a sorcerer of questionable morality, whose appearance was based on that of the musician and frontman of the 1980s band The Police called Sting, especially the blonde hair. Constantine then popped up sporadically in Crisis on Infinite Earths, additional issues of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run, and in Neil Gaiman's The Books of Magic, a DC Limited series with sequel series published under DC's imprint label Vertigo Comics. In 1988, Constantine was given his own title, Hellblazer. In 1993, at the launch of DC's Vertigo Comics imprint, Hellblazer transferred to the Vertigo publication and would become the longest continuously published Vertigo title, running for 300 issues. Before the launch of the Vertigo line, Constantine appeared in several DC Universe titles, but for many years afterwards, editorial policy forbade him from appearing outside the Vertigo line, though it was never made clear why. The policy was reversed in 2011, when a version of Constantine appeared in the DC Universe crossover series Brightest Day. 2011, Peter Milligan added him to the inaugural roster of the New 52 series Justice League Dark. Milligan began writing Justice League Dark while also writing the Vertigo Hellblazer series, being a writer of both series at the same time, though stipulating in interviews that he considered the Vertigo Constantine and the DCU Constantine as being kept separate with no crossover things going on, the two versions being different ages, having different marital statuses, Constantine's parents dying at different points in time, but the same core personality and personal failings. Additionally, Constantine in the Vertigo universe is in his 60s, and what you have in the DC universe is a character who is younger because the original Vertigo version was unusual among comic book characters for aging in real time since its creation, celebrating milestone birthdays within the pages of his Vertigo-based comics. John Constantine's magical abilities prior to the New 52 era and onwards were considered average in terms of spellcasting proficiency. However, he relied more on his intelligence, extensive knowledge of the occult, manipulation skills, and extensive network of contacts. Despite this, Constantine specialized in various areas of magic, including demonology, illusions, divination, and demonic summoning, with some proficiency in necromancy and spiritual communication. In his use of sorcery, Constantine possessed a vast repertoire of magic spells, rituals, and curses. After the New 52 reboot, Constantine's magical abilities underwent expansion, becoming more formidable with a lot more blast-centric spell sorcery. John's bloodline and ancestry were known as the Laughing Magicians, legendary mages. This ancestry later drives John to partake in his lineage and practice magic. One of John's first acts of magic as a child, with a difficulty growing up experience, was to hide all of his childhood innocence and vulnerability in a box to rid himself of it. John later ran away from Liverpool, settling in London and forming a band called Mucous Membrane. In the New 52 era, John gets a 2013 solo series written by Jeff Lemire and Ray Fawkes called Constantine, followed in 2015 by a series called Constantine the Hellblazer by Ming Doyle and James Tynion IV. Then in the 2016 DC Rebirth era, had a series called The Hellblazer Rebirth, then The Hellblazer, which retconned a bunch of the changes made to his backstory during the New 52 era to match his pre-2011 origin. In 2019, a new Hellblazer series, launched as part of the Sandman Universe line of comics, commenced with a Halloween one-shot, followed by a 12-issue run, ending prematurely due to the COVID pandemic, with a creative team of Simon Spurrier and Aaron Campbell. In 2024, the 2019 creative team returned for a new 11-issue maxi series called John Constantine Hellblazer Dead in America. Constantine also appeared in the webtoon digital comic Satana and the Ripper. Although a compassionate humanist who struggles to overcome the influence of both heaven and hell over humanity, and despite his occasional forays into heroism, Constantine is a foul-mouthed, disillusioned British cynic who pursues a life of sorcery danger. His motivation has been attributed to an adrenaline addiction that only the strange and mysterious can satiate. He also seems to be something of a weirdness magnet, a term used to describe Constantine. He is shown to be someone with a wide international circle of contacts and allies, and is adept at making friends. At the same time, his close friends inevitably suffer or are outright killed simply by being in his life. This left a severe mark on him. In one comic issue, when the king of vampires killed the man sleeping beside him and casually asked if he had been a friend, John replied, "Must be. He's dead." Constantine is bisexual, which was first established in a 1992 comic that referred offhandedly to his having male and female exes. Early stories exclusively showed him dating women, though, until the end of Brian Azzarello's Hellblazer run in 2002 showed him as having relationships with men as well, though the run in question faced criticism. Whether the underlying causes of that criticism was homophobia or because of creative liberties Azzarello took with the overall writing prioritizing shock value over consistent characterization is unclear. Constantine's attraction would continue to be with women under other writers until the 2015 Constantine run, since which time Constantine has had a slew of lovers, both male and female, including Zatanna and a man called Oliver, who we'll discuss in detail a bit later. In external media, Constantine in the DC animated movies, specifically the 2020 film Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, had a past relationship with King Shark. The 2005 Constantine movie starring Keanu Reeves and the 2014 NBC single-season show Constantine starring Matt Ryan both straight-washed the character, later not because of NBC guidelines, and more to do with the show's writers and showrunners deciding Constantine's sexuality was an unimportant facet of his character. The showrunners of the show included David S. Goyer, responsible for input on Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy and the main Snyderverse movies prior to Justice League. Matt Ryan would return to the role of Constantine, however, appearing in an episode of the animated Harley Quinn series and DC animated movie universe films, including the 2018 animated movie Constantine City of Demons, 2 Justice League Dark animated movies, and Constantine the House of Mystery, and jumps Network's CW's Arrowverse, guest starring in an episode of Arrow Season 4 called Haunted, before appearing in The Legends of Tomorrow in first guest appearance, before being bumped up to main cast of Seasons 4 through 6, where they fully embraced Constantine's bisexuality, having him snog fellow bisexual Sarah Lance, the time agent alien Gary Green, the New Orleans bartender Desmond, among others. Constantine, during the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, had a crossover moment with Lucifer Morningstar, played by Tom Ellis, as seen in the Fox-turned-Netflix series appearing. Rumor has it, rumors which Mark Guggenheim, creator of Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, heavily implied were true, that Matt Ryan's Constantine had to be removed during the 6th season of Legends of Tomorrow because there were plans to use the Constantine character in HBO Max show with a new actor produced by J.J. Abrams that never came to pass. Because of that same show, and to avoid potential copyright sticking points for a single episode cameo, in addition to simplifying the narrative by reducing the number of excess bit characters, the Sandman show and Neil Gaiman opted to gender swap Constantine and combine her with another character in the Sandman mythology to create Johanna Constantine, played by Doctor Who and Victoria's Jenna Coleman. Matt Ryan has recently reprised the role of Constantine in animated movies Green Lantern, Beware My Power, and the Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths trilogy. The Hellraiser comics were highly influential in the popularity of the occult supernatural detective genre, and John Constantine's trench coat, tan in color, rough and knee-length, has inspired the stereotypical aesthetic of many occult detectives. Most notably, the trench coat has become a signature staple for occult detective fiction, including for Hellboy, Harry Dresden of the Dresden Files, and Castile from Supernatural. Spirit World's prologue story, The Envoy, a Spirit World story, was released twice. The second release was in a Dawn of DC We Are Legends special edition, along with City Boy and the Vigil prologues, also released in Lazarus Planet tie-in specials designed to preview DC's upcoming series. We Are Legends was an umbrella title for the launch of those 3 miniseries, part of a year-long Dawn of DC storytelling initiative headlining Asian and South Asian heroes from Asian writers and artists. City Boy was also a great miniseries worth checking out. Xanthe Joe, they them pronouns, aka the Envoy, is a spirit envoy, someone who tends to the wishes of the dead. Their abilities are based on the practice of burning joss paper offerings to send them to the afterlife. As someone who is both dead and alive, Xanthe can take a folded paper object and turn it into a real one by lighting it on fire. They use this talent to deliver goods to the spirit world's forgotten people. They are a rare, non-binary Chinese hero. Xanthe's temp name in early drafts was Chrysanthemum. Their first appearance was in this prologue in Lazarus Planet, Dark Fate. Lazarus Planet was a 2023 American comic book crossover storyline. The event involves Chinese deities turned demons, Neza and King Fireball, whose conflict causes a volcano on Lazarus Island to erupt, causing global magic storms that both give superpowers and alter existing ones. The event received positive reviews, with critics praising the art, action, and main story, while criticizing the tie-ins for not tying into the event itself enough. When Alyssa Wong was asked about the creative origin of Xanthe, they responded, "My editor Jessica Chen pitched me the idea of a Chinese afterlife book. We were talking about the Xingming festival, when people sweep their ancestors' graves and burn joss paper money so that their loved ones can have it in the afterlife. Jess wanted to take that idea further and use it to explore what happens to the dead whose families have forgotten them, or who don't have anyone to send them burnt offerings." I thought, okay, what if there was someone who could work around that? The living burn joss paper, which becomes something real for the dead. As a fun fact note, joss paper, also known as incense papers, are paper crafts or sheets of paper made into burnt offerings common in Chinese ancestral worship. Xanthe Zhu is someone who is both dead and alive, and their ability is being able to take a folded paper object and turn it into a real one by lighting it on fire. If they can fold it, they can make it. They use this talent to deliver goods to the spirit world's forgotten people. If you need something, but they have no way to get it, Xanthe will find it for you. Of course, operating as a spirit envoy comes with its own risks. Alyssa tends to keep character descriptions pretty loose so that the artist has room for their own interpretation. Xanthe's look is based on LA Asian American street fashion, sneakerhead kicks, embroidered bomber jacket, West Coast cool. Plus chrysanthemums, Alyssa's favorite funeral flowers. They were the visual touchstones Haining nailed Xanthe's design on her first try. Alyssa and Jess called each other and were like, "Oh yes, my god, that's them. That's Xanthe, just that's them." We just knew. All of the elements were so thoughtful, and you could see that in Xanthe's weapons, accessories, and everything else. Alyssa loves a big sword. When figuring out Xanthe, they thought, what kind of media would someone who died young have experienced in the land of the living? They imagined Xanthe as someone who watched anime as a child, saw Miyazaki films, and read picture books about fantastical adventures. The big anime sword made sense. They also wanted something that would be fairly easy to fold out of paper. In Alyssa's head, it was one of the first things Xanthe learned how to fold. It's a cool, flashy weapon that speaks to Xanthe's background and influences, and hints at a slightly more childish side to this bold, confident character. In the prologue story, originally first contained in Lazarus Planet Dark Fate, the Envoy is Spirit World story. While visiting their grandmother's grave, reluctant hero Xanthe must stop and attack from the spirit world when strange magic rips a hole in the veil between the spirit world and Gotham City. Corpses start coming back to life as Jingxi or Bowen-Shi. For context, Alyssa had been obsessed with Jiangxi since they were a child, which are Chinese hopping vampires. So to Alyssa, it made sense to them to have Jiangxi in a story about afterlife magic and unquiet spirits, especially one starring a Chinese-American character who traverses life and death. You often see Jiangxi wearing centuries-old clothing, Jing Dynasty-era outfits. Alyssa found something interesting about spirits with a long history who occupy the present. Spirit World is full of spirits whose designs blend traditional and modern elements, and the present versus the past is an important theme throughout this book. As Xanthe fights the Jiangxi, which suck blood and chi, we learn through Xanthe's monologuing that they died as a kid. We also see, during the fight, Xanthe has rings on both their middle finger and thumb that, when rubbed together, can set joss paper on fire. Xanthe meets Constantine and Batgirl while they are all trying to handle the same vampire-shaped problem. Unfortunately, they ran into something worse, a collective, a twisted mass of tortured souls. Xanthe, with aid of their two sidekicks, managed to pull them back to the afterlife through the gate between the lands of the living and the dead, beneath Granny Lowe, the matriarch of Lowe's famous food's grave. But the collective grabbed Batgirl in the process and dragged Cass through the gate to the spirit world before Xanthe could stop it. The prologue ends with Cass gone and Xanthe stranded in the land of the living. Many thanks to the AIPT review website for their issue synopses helping flesh out the following issue recaps. Spirit World, Issue 1. In Gotham, Spirit Envoy Xanthe and John Constantine are on a quest to find a new portal to the Spirit World in order to rescue the Cassandra Cain Batgirl, who was taken there by a dying collective. Stakes and a sense of urgency are set by Xanthe, revealing that living people don't last long in the Spirit World, as everything there is drawn to their intoxicatingly irresistible life force. Constantine has a friend who may be able to help them. Meanwhile, Batgirl is attracting trouble in the Spirit World as the spirits are drawn to her mortal scent. After a chaotic chase through the city, Cass finds refuge with the help of Popo and Bowen. The issue ends with their neighbor in the spirit world, Mr. Hong, knocking the trio sensing danger and Popo drawing on magic with aid of her staff to protect them. Meanwhile, Xanthe and Constantine encounter unexpected challenges at his friend Easton's house in the form of another collective, and while they're hot on the trail of a new portal, Xanthe runs into their birth mother, who they haven't seen in 15 years. The issue also touches on the tradition of living people burning paper offerings for the deceased. People commonly burn money, but in the spirit world, it's been burnt so abundantly that money is devalued and is worthless now, similar to the real-world practice of what happens when a money mint overprints and circulates too much currency in an economy. Spirit World, Issue 2. Xanthe and John go to dinner with Xanthe's living family after the shock reunion between them and their mother, who has been grieving them since their death as a child 15 years ago. Xanthe's history is still unclear in many ways, but they were resurrected in some form as a connection between the spirit world and the living one, with their sister Steffi eventually revealed as the key to Xanthe's connection to the living. Xanthe's reunion with their mother and family is short-lived and disastrous, as their mother uses their dead name, misgenders Xanthe, and immediately falls back into a controlling motherly role. Alyssa Wong's writing is particularly sharp and evocative in this scene, as Xanthe's warring emotions between loving their family and recognizing they are not who they think they are causes Xanthe to abruptly leave the dinner after their mother attempts to force them to stay. Spirit World Issue 2 is a glimpse not only into the world of a Chinese-American family living in Gotham, but also the difficulties of being gender non-conforming in an immigrant family with specific cultural and familial expectations. Xanthe is firmly and respectfully established as a non-binary hero, and Spirit World Issue 2 includes an interesting flirtation between Bowen and the male-presenting spirit named Shen, as well as an appearance by Constantine's old lover, Oliver. The appearance of Oliver is a fascinating callback to a time in Constantine's life when he journeyed to New York City to be a hero in 2015's Constantine the Hellblazer, which tragically ended with Oliver being dragged to hell while his daughters and John watched on. This is yet another connection to DC Pride 2023, since the special shows Constantine finally freeing Oliver's soul from hell, while Xanthe and Batwoman had their own queer adventure in the pages of the anthology. Alyssa Wong also hilariously confirms that Constantine has canonically had an intimate relationship with himself, as a spirit of another Constantine haunts John on their travel to the spirit world, with John proclaiming, "Try anything once, or a dozen times." We also see Constantine remember his unidyllic childhood, specifically recalling being raised by an abusive alcoholic father who blamed Constantine for the death of his mother in childbirth. Meanwhile, Popo vanquishes Mr. Hong, and Bowen pulls Popo back from destroying the body of Mr. Hong, which has been corrupted by an unidentified third party. They visit Shen. Shen is who spirits go to when people forget about the dead, who then start to forget themselves. So go to Shen to relearn things about themselves or those they once knew. Wong's callback to Oliver is not the only reference to a character's tragic past, as Shen immediately recognizes Cassandra Cain, telling her they have met once before, when Cass previously died. Batgirl's death was at the hands of her biological mother, the wildly dangerous assassin Lady Shiva, who then brought Cassandra back to life in 2002's Batgirl issue 25. Cassandra's relationship with her mother, Sandra Wusan, has always been complicated and layered. Lady Shiva is an assassin for hire and a Chinese and Japanese martial arts grandmaster, and considered one of the most skilled hand-to-hand combatants in the DC universe. The dynamic between the two has been recently touched on in the Batgirl's annual, when Cass, Kane, and Steph Brown swap bodies while their parents visited town, and is set to be explored further in the recently released 2024 Batgirl solo series, starring Cass Kane, written by Tate Brumble and art by Takeshi Yazawa. Take Bromwell's writing we will get to experience in October's 2025's Comic Club when we cover the oddly pedestrian life of Christopher Chaos. Xanthe's sibling Steffi is revealed to be Xanthe's portal, connecting Xanthe between the land of the living and the dead. Xanthe's parents having stopped giving offerings at Xanthe's grave once Steffi was born. Xanthe having watched the trio from afar over the years from distance, never contacted them. Using the paper wreath Steffi makes, Xanthe can make a portal between the lands of the living and the dead by burning it. Xanthe promises to return to Steffi with a gift. Xanthe and Constantine manage to narrowly survive the yellow paper road connecting the lands, but coming through to the land of the dead, a giant tentacled monster with 1,000 eyes looks to be following them through. Spirit World Issue 3. Reunited in the land of the dead, Cass, Constantine, and Xanthe team up to defeat the monster. The reader learns that Xanthe's swords are paper, so they burn up when they use them. At one point in the battle, having no time to fold another sword, Xanthe resorts to using other pre-folded items they intended to deliver to clients, including a wok and a cleaver cooking set. Xanthe has met Popo and Bowen in the past, and they are friends. While there is still urgency to get Batgirl and Constantine back to the land of the living, more folk have gone missing in the land of the living every day, and Xanthe is vowed to help. Or perhaps it was actually the land of the dead every day, and Cass is still vowed to help. Cass makes a deal with Shen, a single bite that she gets to say when Shen stops, in exchange for Cass's memories of the first time she visited the spirit world in Answers. Cass learns that her first trip was caused by her mother killing Cass and bringing her back during the time in the land of the dead, being attacked by a spirit that tried to fuse with Cass. A mysterious lady with blue skin breaches the wards of Popo's residence, and a trade for food in exchange for quick teleportation by Shen sees the 5 heroes and Shen arrive back at Popo's to see that Mr. Huang's body has disappeared, as has all their neighbors. The final panel showing what looks like a fresh collective of bodies on the ceiling that Xanthe and some of the others are walking under, perhaps ready to drop and catch them unawares. Spirit World Issue 4. In typical Scooby Gang fashion, the gang splits up. Xanthe, Constantine, and Cass exploring and discovering the attacker collective the blue-skinned lady has created. Xanthe faces the collective, armed only with a wooden club. They realize the collective is made up of their friends and neighbors and try to find a way to save them without hurting them. They implore Constantine and Batgirl not to harm them, even as Constantine is being swallowed whole. Constantine quickly frees himself. Bowen, Popo, and Shen, also attacked by parts of the collective, catch up to the other trio, Shen at one point changing forms to that of the soul devouring Divine Fox. It's a standout moment in the art scene, Shen consuming spirits. The magical elements are smoky and ethereal, and the colours bring the spirit world to life. The sound effects like the collectives of blorps and slorps add to the visual aspect. When Bowen provides Xanthe with some extra Joss paper, they're able to make a new sword and perform exorcisms to attempt to save the spirits trapped in the collective. Despite the toll it takes on them, Xanthe keeps fighting until they collapse from exhaustion. Xanthe's commitment to helping others and risking their own well-being to save their neighbours really shows their genuine care and commitment to the greater good. The issue also hints at Popo's past. Shen refers to her as the verdant sorceress, suggesting she was once more powerful than she appears. When Xanthe suggests seeking help from the J Court, Popo strongly opposes the idea. This court supposedly rules the spirit world, and Popo's reaction implies a possible connection to it. Xanthe wakes up after 3 days, having been dragged away from the collective, battle unconscious. Bowen has been injured and is restrained, showing early signs of spirit deterioration, forgetting who they are, losing themselves, starting to erode away, destined to fade into nothingness. If Bowen's spirit cannot attain reincarnation, Shen had disappeared during the escape. Somebody possesses Bowen and tells the main trio of heroes to descend into the space below, the underbelly of the spirit world. As they descend the stairs, an unknown force takes control of Cass and Constantine's bodies and starts attacking Xanthe, the Envoy, finishing the issue on a cliffhanger of 2 versus 1. Spirit World Issue 5. The issue begins with a short prelude that introduces us to the enigmatic Jade Court, setting the stage for a plot that's as intricate as it is compelling. In the real world, the Jade Emperor holds a prominent position in Chinese mythology as the supreme deity of the celestial realm. His significance is deeply embedded in the cultural and spiritual fabric of Chinese society, symbolizing authority, order, and the divine governance. As a ruler of heaven, the Jade Emperor oversees a pantheon of deities and spirits. His court is a reflection of the hierarchical structure that governs the universe in Chinese mythology. The court created for the Spirit World comics looks to be made up of original creations. Xanthe, Constantine, and Batgirl remain trapped in the dark clutches of corruption, pitting them against one another. And it's Xanthe's quick thinking and the clever repurposing of binding talismans that temporarily restores their control, providing a glimpse of hope amid the chaos. As they descend to the labyrinthian underbelly, our trio's quest unfolds with unexpected twists and revelations. With the help of Batgirl and Constantine, Xanthe is able to break through the magical door. The journey through the door reveals glimpses of the past, shedding light on a profound change within the J Court, leading to their refusal to resurrect souls. And Popo, the former verdant sorceress's eventual falling out of the court. These flashbacks provide much needed context to the narrative and raise intriguing questions about the court's motives and the spirit world's evolution. Meanwhile, the J Court faces an external threat in the form of the merciless demon Wang Yuing, who devours supplicants' spirits. The callousness of the court is palpable as they watch the carnage, only intervening when the Gilded General grows bored of watching. This adds a layer of darkness to the story, highlighting the court's lack of compassion for those seeking reincarnation. The General even goes so far as to strike down some innocent spirits, get in his way, emphasizing the cruelty of the J Court and the lack of compassion for those who they should be serving. The issue's climax takes us to the heart of the Jade Tower, just as Xanthe, Batgirl, and Constantine crash through the door in the sky. Wang Yuing is revealed to be the puppeteer responsible for corrupting Bowen and controlling Batgirl and Constantine. Revelation ties together loose threads from previous issues, giving us clear understanding of the source of the collective that attacked Xanthe in the Gotham City graveyard and pulled Batgirl into the spirit world way back at Lazarus Planet. Dark Fate. Wang Yuing has brought our heroes to the spot so they can help her open the door to the Jade Tower. It will be interesting to see if Xanthe decides to work with Wang Yuing to depose the J Court, or if they will choose another path. Some general thoughts I had was Xanthe's spell mimicking the spiral staircase was a creative choice. That was a particularly great art choice, and I loved the following inner monologue in the panels. Magic is shaped by intention. It doesn't want to stay static. It's natural for it to change and evolve. For it's not easy for people to adapt. They want to keep everything the same. So we stagnate. We strangle our magic with fear. We embrace it as it truly is. To embrace it as it truly is, you have to look at everything you think you know about the way the world should be and imagine something new. Some great symbolism for how people are adverse to change in general in the real world. Spirit World, Issue 6 of 6. Wan Yuing is a famous poet artist from ancient times, and she and her works have been forgotten over the centuries while she waits in vain for reincarnation. The Jade Court is ultimately responsible for her rampage, though it's never explained why. The court is no longer reincarnating spirits, possibly out of greed or simple apathy. Our trio of heroes has their hands full fighting the Golden General who wants to destroy the trio so they can't be used by Yuing, as well as the trio having to fight the monstrous collective that Yuing has become, wanting to consume their living souls in order to seize reincarnation. Batgirl tries to take on Yuing, but quickly realizes the collection has control of Cass from their previous contamination. Constantine and Xanthe square up against the General, but they are overwhelmed in short order. When they're on the edge of defeat, Xanthe discovers the bracelet Popo imparted when they were younger has powerful magical abilities that are used to defeat the Golden General. Xanthe is now able to manifest objects even without Geos paper, and the General quickly recognizes it as magic similar to the Virgin Sorceress. Throughout the fight sequences, we get glimpses of Xanthe's past from their own returning memories as well as insights from the Jade Court. It turns out Popo attempted to reincarnate Xanthe on Popo's own, a task that usually takes all 8 members of the court. Xanthe's current abilities are the result of this experiment, neither fully alive or dead, and envoy between the two worlds. Popo was drained of power until the Virgin Sorceress was a shadow of Popo's former self. Xanthe, remembering the kindness shown to them by Popo, is inspired for how they opt to deal with Yuing. Instead of violence and magic, Xanthe offers compassion and understanding, telling Yuing they'll never be forgotten by Xanthe, who, with the living's power to remember and the dead's immortality, will hold Yuing's memory close for all eternity, providing a little peace because no one deserves to be forgotten. The promise causes the corruption to disappear, free in Constantine and Cass. It's refreshing to see a character that doesn't always resort to violence to solve their problems. In a superhero comic, Xanthe consistently finds ways to end conflicts with kindness and empathy. Xanthe's unique abilities, their connection to Popo's actions, and their compassionate problem-solving approach set them apart as a character who doesn't rely solely on violence. This thematic choice offers a refreshing twist in the superhero genre, emphasizing the power of kindness and empathy. With the collective appeased, the rest of the Jade Court finally joins the action outside the Jade Tower. The Carmine Star is ready to destroy Xanthe, Batgirl, and Constantine, but others in the court seem intrigued by their abilities and entertained by the recent events. Through some deft negotiations, Xanthe is able to broker a seat on the Jade Court and safe passage for Xanthe's friends. Additionally, Xanthe can come and go as they please. In exchange, Xanthe will lend the court their abilities to make whatever the court asks. General discussion. My favorite quote from the book is from the end. It's quite a powerful one. We have people on both sides of the veil who anchor us, not in spite of who we are, who love us because they know us. I'm sure there's people who have felt a profound sense of sadness reading this, because that hasn't necessarily been the case with members of their family, but also happiness and truth found in that quote. I've adored sharing this with both non-binary and trans friends who have gotten to see parts of themselves reflected in comic book form that they normally wouldn't, or have just gotten to enjoy a well-crafted written story with beautiful art that is smartly self-contained, with minimal assumed knowledge from the wider DC universe, which can be off-putting to a more casual reading audience. Wobb's thoughts. This panel is far and away my favourite. The sudden snap from a fairly mundane scene that could be taking place anywhere in the world to supernatural horror gave me a whiplash. It also has a real, oh shit, things are about to get real vibe. Overall, I loved the comic. Xanthe's design and the aesthetic overall are real standouts for me. The way they've dressed Xanthe in normal clothes, but still has strong superhero vibes, is really impressive. If you liked this, if you enjoyed this book, unfortunately, there hasn't been much else with Xanthe at this time. They pop up in one of the stories in the DC Pride 2023 anthology, contained in the trade paperback for Spirit World, and are a supporting character in the 5th volume of the 2023 ongoing Birds of Prey series' 12th and 13th issues, along with Constantine. Xanthe also has a Blink and You Miss It supporting appearance in DC Pride 2024. For more with Cassandra Cain's Batgirl, she's had multiple solo runs, including a new solo series that's launched this month. She's also currently starring in the previously mentioned 2023 ongoing Birds of Prey series as a staple core member, and for older content, check out either her 2000s run of Batgirl or the Batgirl's run that we covered earlier this year. For more Constantine, check out 2015's Constantine the Hellblazer by Ming Doyle, James Tynion IV, and Riley Rosmo, which ran for 13 issues, which details the rise and fall of his relationship with Oliver, who was never given a last name. Speaking of rise and falls, there's was also a 2023 issue limited series by Tom Taylor, a name everybody should be familiar with from these comic clubs by now, called Hellblazer Rise and Fall, published by DC's Black Label. The final comic book club for 2024 will occur on Monday, the 16th of December, 2024, and will be covering the 1988 run of Excalibur's first 8 issues by Chris Claremont and Alan Davis. These can be read digitally on the Marvel Unlimited app, or alternatively, you can pick up the Excalibur Epic Collection, The Sword is Drawn, first volume of the Epic Collection run for Excalibur, or alternatively, you can still potentially find single issues online on various online stores such as eBay. Otherwise, thank you for listening, and have a great rest of your month. The end.